Hey, Jen.
Hi.
Hi, great. Okay, let's get started before we run out of time. Okay, we're recording, let's go. Hi everyone, welcome to the Next Tech London Advocates Forum. Before we get started, it would be great to make sure that you're all properly on mute, and we are screen recording the forum. So if you don't want to be included, please turn off your camera now. And then, yes, please make sure everybody is on mute. Just as a reminder as to why we're doing this. So we launched the Tech London Advocates COVID-19 Resource Hub way back on the 27th of March, which seems like an eternity as we went into lockdown. And I wanted to do something that really enabled the advocates community to support startups, scale-ups, the broader ecosystem. We've got our TLA COVID-19 Resource Hub, and on the website, you're going to find a directory of advocates. I think we've now got over 60 who are giving free help and advice to anybody who wants it. There's loads of information, resources. There's a whole series of online portals and blogs, et cetera, that are included in the Resource Hub. And then we also include our TLA surgery podcasts. These are podcasts that we record every 2 weeks with Ali Barrett, who, as you know, compeers our live events. He and I are co-hosting a series of these podcasts, and I think we've just put up the 7th or 8th one in the website, so please do take a look at it. And this is the 6th of our TLA Forum Zoom calls, where we try and check in regularly with the community, bring some guests on to talk about really interesting and exciting things that we're working on as we all try and manage our way through the pandemic. This week, we've invited the co-leads of the TLA Education Working Group to join us. And I'm really excited about this forum because this has been something that's been in the making for a while. They're going to tell us about the launch of the TLA Education Resource Hub. And if you all read your newsletters, which I sent you on the 1st of July, you will have seen and read all about it. And you know, I want them to talk about what they think and what they hope it will achieve in terms of the provision of digital skills in the UK. So what I'd like to do now is let me just introduce the 3 co-leads of the group. We've got Joe Tasker, we've got Jules Wicks, and we've got Ade Aokoya. Joe is the managing director of Joe Tasker Consulting, which specializes in strategic business development in the education, technology, property, and construction sectors. And for her sins, she not only co-leads the TLA Education Group, but she also co-leads the TLA PropTech Working Group. Jules is a data science learning principal specialist at AstraZeneca, where she focuses on learning and development, helping to establish positive corporate cultures and recruiting top STEM talent. And then finally, Ade is a business project director at LB Academy, which acts as a launchpad for digital businesses and supports them with business development in emerging tech sectors. Via its business growth hub, LB Academy also has a focus on social inclusion and bridging the digital skills gap. But together, they co-lead the TLA Education Working Group. So welcome to the 3 of them. As I mentioned earlier this month, they launched the TLA Education Resource Hub, which is at tlaeducation.org.uk. So whilst you're on the Zoom call, go check it out. It is a portal that aims to map the digital skills ecosystem in the UK and collate information, advice, and resources for schools, young people, parents, businesses looking to access digital skills in one centralized place. And before I open this up and start firing away questions at them, I just have to say, when we launched the hub on the 1st of July, we got some really good media coverage. Information Age covered it, Computer Weekly covered it, and I was absolutely delighted to see Further Education News cover it. And if I remember the wording correctly, they called the TLA Education Hub the most comprehensive online portal for digital skills in the UK. So
I'll drink to that.
what more could you ask for, right? So with that, Joe, Jules, Ade, please tell us about the TLA Education Resource Hub and what you set out to achieve, and maybe Joe, I'll start with you, and then we'll move to Jules and Ade to each kind of get us started on the topic.
Great. Thanks, Russ. Hi, everybody. Great to have you here. Hopefully you will have or be looking at it now or have seen the portal, tlaeducation.gov.uk. It was set up to basically join the dots across the education sector and predominantly within our 3 working streams, which are careers and skills, Edtech and apprenticeships. In line with Russ's original strategy to support the digital skills agenda, the national digital skills agenda, we felt it important to be able to provide an area, a central resource where, depending on who you were in the stakeholder journey, whether an educator, a parent, an employer, a company, an SME, EdTech startup, or a parent, or a young person, you'd be able to come into one resource and find out all the activity and initiatives that are happening across these 3 areas. The reason for this and the requirement for this, when we started talking about it, Russ, about 18 months ago, it's taken lockdown to bring it to fruition with the time and productivity. And at the time it was, there was very much some brilliant things happening from at the grassroots level across education, and still are, and there are lots of there's an increased requirement for skills-based initiatives and support, and there wasn't any central area. A lot of these good, I'm jumping around, but a lot of these grassroots organizations that were doing all this good stuff weren't being seen by anybody else because they're very lonely, and it was very much a local initiative, local solution, small voice. Whereas the thinking is, if we bring, in true TLA style, if we bring all these or join the dots across all of these different areas, from grassroots up to government down to grassroots, with business and academia, schools in between, then we'll create a very comprehensive, consistent voice that will support a lot of the requirements from our different stakeholders, the educators, the young people, the parents, and we'll be able to strongly support the push to increase digital skills engagement across the UK.
Fantastic. Jules, what would you like to add to that?
I don't know that I have much to add to that. I'd definitely like to echo. So my focus within the team is very much on apprenticeships. And apprenticeships, you've got so many different audiences, just like Joe was saying. You can't have apprenticeships without the apprentices. You can't have the apprentices without the buy-in from their advisors, who perhaps traditionally have advised university or a more conventional route. So it's about presenting other options, and I think that's something that the page is great for, is you can kind of see what are all the different options available in technical education at the moment. The employers, they won't make apprenticeships available unless they understand what it is and they feel confident in choosing the right provider. And there are so many great training providers out there who need that extra support to become apprenticeship training providers. It's quite a shift in mentality for some of the smaller startups who've got fantastic edtech, fantastic initiatives, and want to connect with the large employers, they want to connect with the learners. So for me, apprenticeships is kind of a slightly condensed example of what Joe was saying, that it's not going to work unless you bring all these different stakeholders together and give them all access to the resources to upskill themselves and each other. So that's what the hub is all about, and that's what I think it's doing really well. Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Super, thank you. And Ade, what about you? What would you like to kind of get us started with about the hub? Obviously, LB Academy is also featured on the hub, which is the academy that you're part of. So give us your perspective, please.
what I like to start with is just to say there's a phrase which is saying standing on the shoulders of giants. And I think the two giants here will be Joe and Ross in this experience. Okay. Because Joe very kindly mentioned having this conversation with Ross 18 months ago. Now, I've been a member of TLA 2017, and I think what Joe failed to mention is her consuming passion for education. She works with the Nesta. She's kind of the lead there. So since being a member, I think I joined TLA Ed last year, but since we set up the groundwork for this education hub, I've really kind of learned quite a bit. And I think what I have found in working on the hub alongside Joe and Jules is kind of seeing more of the wider picture and the cohesion. Because I kind of like had a bit of a tunnel vision about, oh, it's just Edtech and it's just about getting people into jobs. But actually, there's some interaction in there. And one good thing I've also seen about the portal is it's also building up on the ethos of TLA, which is about volunteering, you know, and helping the ecosystem to kind of move forward. Specifically in terms of the portal, I think my pet, I won't say project, I think my pet life there, which we're trying to build on, I think where I'll appeal here, is the blogs.
Yep.
Because the TLA community have a lot of experts. And I think Joe has already built that in. There's a submission page if you go to the About, where there's a section where if you want to give us a blog on your specific expertise of EdTech, apprenticeships, you could like, let us have that. So that's kind of really my spiel about TLA.
That's great, thank you. And you know, from my perspective, and it was very interesting for me for the benefit of those of you on this call. I know Ade and Joe and Jules know about this, but I sit on the board of the Digital Skills Partnership. This was something that was launched by Matt Hancock 3 years ago. And actually we had our first board meeting, if you can believe it, last week, the first time in just under a year. And you know, very much I have shared with DCMS and through the Digital Skills Partnership Board, and tried to build an awareness of this portal, and that, you know, this is organization agnostic, that it has been built in what I describe as an additive way, where we can just keep adding more organizations, more information, and you know, I think very quickly live up to the Further Education News headline of this being the most comprehensive online portal in the UK. So with that, maybe Joe, if you can give us a perspective of which of the organizations that are supporting the hub, are they contributing resources? What things would you like these organizations to do? Just give us a sense of how that works, and you know, who you've been working with to be featured on the portal as it got started.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so on the picking up on the points about the blogs and everything else, we have a really dynamic live front page which is updated every week, or daily if we need to update some breaking news, and we want that to form part of the conversation. So we want all, you know, not just the stakeholders but members and those people who are engaging with the site to use the blogs, to submit conversation pieces, to submit opinions, to come to us with information that they want support in promoting. Clearly it does need to fit within our criteria of the 3 working streams, but anything across education for all ages. I think we'll come on a bit later to talk about how the hub can support you know, furloughed workers and things like that, but it's to get I'm sorry, I've lost myself, but I'll go back to the main question, which was about the organisations and others who are using the resource. So that's where I started with the conversation piece, is because I've had quite a few meetings since we launched with organisations who want to promote, who want to talk to their different stakeholders in different ways, who want to drive traffic to their various initiatives and opportunities, and we're working out clever ways in terms of how they can keep us updated, and we can update the blog. So it's a really, really fast moving conversation that keeps everybody up to date. We are looking at best in class organizations, because as we all know, there's a lot of noise out there with lots of different startups and initiatives and organizations. We do want to make sure that the ones that are on the site are good, because we don't want to add to the noise that our stakeholders are already fighting through, hence bringing it all into one place. So there are organisations like Code First Girls, all the usual suspects. We started with our TLA membership, education membership group, with Founders for Schools, with where we've supported them on various initiatives that they've been launching, like the Digital Boost program and others. We're supporting organisations like Education Foundation and the Edtech demonstrator program for schools who are looking at what tech they need to be bringing into their schools. They don't have a clue, so they're working this brilliant platform that the Education Foundation with others have produced to help peers in the schools, peers who are using EdTech in the great way, helping other schools to use EdTech in the right way and helping them through their journey. So there are different ways that organisations can and will be using the site, and it's all dependent on their own business objectives and their own reach, if you like, and their own customer base or their own user base. Because I think that's again the beauty of this platform, is that we can support all of that without doing very much, which is great.
Because it's, you guys all have so many other things that you're involved with, and I know it's taken a lot of time and effort to get it to this point in terms of building the website. So I think that's great. What kind of, it's the 16th of July, you launched on the 1st of July, so you've been up for about 15 days. What kind of response are you getting? What are some of these organizations saying to you? What kind of activity are you seeing come your way since the launch of this? Just to give us a sense of how interested people might be in what you're doing.
Well, we've had connection requests from about 8 different countries.
Okay, so it's not just London, it's not just UK.
It's not just London or UK. It's like from we've had international interest, and we're looking at a few different collaborations, which is brilliant. The latest one is another resource hub in Brunei, and the other traffic that's coming through. So we're getting we've got an email account attached to the website, so we're getting a lot of just independent individuals coming through that aren't part of TLA, aren't part of the network. I haven't met them before. I'm having direct people come up and ask if they can be on the resource hub to find out more how it can help them and support them. I've already done 2 rounds of updates with new additions and new organizations coming through, and it's daily, Russ. It's daily, and the beauty of it, as you was mentioned before, is that we can scale it. We can just keep updating it every week. At the moment, I'm blocking some hours out of the weekend to update it, because we've got a CRM system that we can do it ourselves, apart from the design and the structural stuff, but we can actually update it ourselves, which is really handy to keep it live and fast.
Fabulous. And it's interesting, you've launched this on the 1st of July. We're in the middle of this pandemic. Why, we've been talking about how the UK suffers from a digital skills shortage. And I don't just think it's the UK, I think it's many other places around the world, but why is now such a crucial time for launching this particular initiative? To any of you, what are your thoughts?
Well, Jules?
Sorry, I was
going
to say,
than Joe. Go for it, Jules.
Okay, so I was going to say, technical skills is increasingly in demand. I think at the moment, with people working from home, learning from home, everything has shifted, everything's changing. It's not completely unexpected, in the sense this is a logical way for society to evolve. It is very sudden and has come as a bit of a shock that arguably we weren't all prepared for.
Yeah.
So there has been a big scrabble to kind of meet the need to be able to educate people from home, to give them the opportunities and the technology to upskill themselves, to educate others, to share knowledge, to communicate remotely. So that is likely to increase as things move forward. And it's very exciting to be there to help meet that need and be part of the transformation. But that transformation is only going to happen if we can address that skills shortage and make it as easy as possible, as obvious as possible, where the resources are, what the opportunities are, and what the scope is for anyone within technology.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, and yeah, really, really good points. And the main thing is that if we're looking towards the autumn now, and we're thinking that, you know, the rise in unemployment daily, just the rise in unemployment now, we're heading into what they're calling a depression. The young people that came out, the young people that came into a recession in 2008, 2009 really suffered, but it's going to be nothing like what people are going to be, you know, the amount of unemployment there's going to be towards the end of this year. If we're saying, if they say that 16 to 24-year-old gap are four times as likely to be unemployed as normal as adults, as older adults, that makes sense, then they really need support and help in finding a way for themselves, you know, identifying the skills that they have. They will, as digital natives, have tech skills, digital skills. How they apply those from the bedroom to the work, to the office, or to anywhere else. They need help in finding those opportunities and understanding the pathways and knowing where to go to get skills for free. To go, if they haven't got any money. I think the City and Guilds report was 21% of disadvantaged kids don't know where to find opportunities to skill or to code or to learn to code or whatever it might be. There's also going to be the training and reskilling of displaced workers. And so as a higher age group, there's a massive need, I think, across the generations. Yep. And even more now because of the COVID and the recession, it's going to be even more important now. And there are going to be a lot of people who are coming out of work who lose their old jobs and don't have the skills to get new jobs in their sector. Yep. Because the world's moved on and they might not have got the support from their employer. Another stat I'll throw at you there is that there's only 23% of the population have had digital skills training supports from their employer.
Yeah.
You know, so we've got a piece on the website which is extracurricular, and up there, and the reskilling and upskilling page as well. So we can really signpost opportunities for all age groups, for all budgets, including free, to these people who are really, really going to be needing it. I think we all are. I mean, I'm looking for some work as well.
Good, excellent. Ade, let me bring you back in because I know you wanted to jump in on this question. Then I'm going to ask one more question. Then I want to open it up for some folks. So, Ade, what did you want to add on this particular point?
Yeah, I just wanted to reflect back on I'll probably call it a committee meeting where we're all there, along with Mark Martin, who's also our advisor. Just for everyone here, Mark Martin is the founder of UK Black Tech, and he's actually a school teacher. And the input he's been giving to us really was about the educational gap, really. And that's kind of where LB Academy came in with the story of social inclusion. And this was way before we had this COVID issue. And so now what we find is that with remote working, the disadvantages and the gap is there now. And all I like to reflect on is previously my time with in the civil service. And I remember the UK civil service. And I remember when I got in there, I was coming from the private sector. And it took me about a year for them to turn my head around to understand that it's about policy and procedures. So I think where the education TLA Edtech, or what our resource hub should really, I think we're in a good position on this, to come up with, quote unquote, a policy paper, because that's kind of the way you can only get government's attention, to try and fix the gaps.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned EdTech, Addie, and I wanted to just throw out one more question, and then just so that they're ready, Mark, Duke, and then Skip, and then I know, Jennifer, you've submitted a question that I'm going to ask you to ask real time, but my question is, I want to talk about EdTech, which is kind of another component to the Resource Hub. And we've seen a lot of growth in the EdTech space during the pandemic. How do you think parents have coped with remote education? What role does technology play in enabling this? And do you think that schools and universities have or are adopting quickly enough to deal with this? So, Joe, why don't I start with you, and then Addie, and then Jules, and then I'm going to open it up.
Well, following, because I've also worked with Nesta on their national schools competitions, and having to go from a physical delivery to an online delivery was quite dramatic. And as such, I did had a lot of conversations with parents and teachers and others on online learning and how the kids were engaging, and it was such a mixed bag. There were schools that had it tip-top, had an itinerary, or all got everybody online, or they were using EdTech in the classroom before, so it was an easy transmission and the kids were all ready for it and supported it, and they're all engaging. We have others who weren't so much an EdTech school, but did start using EdTech in the classroom and for marking kids' homeworks and stuff like that. So those types of platforms, but they would start with registration with 30 kids, and then by the end of it, there'd be like two children left in the class, and then there were the others that just hadn't got their acts together, so they haven't been able to send. They've had to send it all via post, all the homework and things like that, and they haven't been able to do it. Hopefully, they've, through the support of an EdTech demonstrator program and things like that, they might be getting their acts together. But there's that difficulty, plus the parental engagement as well. So you've got some parents who brilliant, loving it, lapping it up, and can sit and help homeschool, and then there are other parents that just don't want to do it and getting very cross at having to do it and having to homeschool. They'd rather it be the agency of the child and the teachers. Now, there's no denying that blended education is going to remain now, so they will be getting their acts together across the piece, working out what types of platforms work. I think the schools are tending to veer towards more Google and Microsoft and Apple because of the safeguarding issues. So things like Zoom, etc., are too. They haven't got those right safeguarding things, but they're all struggling at the moment to kind of get used to it, I think, and but it will be a blended approach moving forwards. So I think the EdTech market's forecast to be worth 3.4 billion by 2021. That may have increased now since COVID, but undoubtedly, technology, EdTech is the way forwards for schools, homeschoolers, educators, young people, and even those looking to reskill and upskill. I think it is technology which will drive that future of education and change the face of education, and hopefully the curriculum. But we won't go into that.
Okay, Jules, thoughts on that? Thoughts on about EdTech?
So EdTech is a bit of a nerdy passion of mine. Find it absolutely fascinating. This could be because Joe mentioned the kids getting their schoolwork by post. I actually had a period of home education a while ago, and that was the option. There was National Extension College who sent me a big ring binder and a couple of textbooks, and said, write your essays, post them back. I tried to do languages remotely and had to record onto a cassette and send the cassette off to a teacher. Things are completely different now, and that has got to be amazing for the learners. They've got this ease of access to engage with the resources. And increasingly, EdTech should be focusing on how to engage and adapt to different types of learner, whether that's school-age learners or whether that's in the workplace. My training background has been a lot more within the workplace, and I have to say for adult learners, it's really important that you remove as many barriers to learning as you can. So what I'm seeing with EdTech is a closer approximation to what it is you're trying to learn. So if you are learning to be a software engineer, EdTech is enabling people to do that software engineering, to do the coding, to engage with it in real time and get immediate feedback. There's no barriers there. The same with data science, same with a whole range of other topics. Whereas thinking back to my experience where I was there with my ring binder, I can't imagine learning to be a data scientist with a ring binder. It just wouldn't work. So EdTech is matching the roles we're training people for, the experiences that people are having, and it's empowering a whole different range of learners to access in different ways. So, as again has already been said on this call, from the comfort of your own bedroom, from holding your own phone in your hand, you can be accessing learning, resources that just wouldn't have been accessible previously. The very last thing I want to add on subject of EdTech is some of our members did a fantastic job as soon as the schools closed of stepping in and making resources freely available and giving that reassurance to parents, to teachers, that they didn't have to magically transform everything themselves. There were things available there. So Twinkle is a really good example of this.
Yeah.
And we've seen multiple others. Jo, is there any others you want to give a shout out to?
I'm scared of missing loads of people off. We've got quite a few on there now.
So many.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's been...
People should just go onto the website and see for themselves. How's that for a prompt?
Because there's, yes, please do.
Yeah.
Because there are so many awesome organisations on there, and the you know, lots of different types of EdTech that's supporting, you know, collaborative platforms, online platforms for resources, so from English to science to digital, and even those platforms and resources catering for dyslexia or dyscalculia or autism, and we've got a send section on the site as well, which we're busy working with different resources to get on there. But the idea is to support parents as well as the educators and the young people in finding the right resources, and also understanding how they're used and how they can be used as well. Let
me bring Ade, and Ade, a thought from you on what we've been talking about with respect to EdTech.
Well, you just said, Russ, earlier that it's pretty much early days, 1st of July to now it's 2 weeks. And one thing I always understand is, you know, we always have constraints in any system. And like I said, my take is on digital inclusion. And in this regard, looking at the hub, I'm looking more at the user journey, right? And I think most EdTech companies are looking at like a technical solution. And so they don't really have a well-rounded view of the demographics they need to serve. That's one part. And then secondly, where I think the Tech Hub helps is we've built up alliances, like we mentioned about a future.now, which recently had to come up with a solution with lack of devices and not the government to give the children devices at home who probably were lacking, actually. You know, so for me, just to round up there, yes, EdTech, yes, it's a good tech journey, but for me, it's the inclusion bits, looking at the user journey and making sure that it's a fit in the system.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me now open up the conversation. I know a few of you have put a couple of some questions in the chat. So Mark Duke, let me call on you first for everybody's benefit. Mark leads the TLA Creative Tech Group. So Mark, do you want to share your question?
Firstly, thank you for the really great presentation. I popped onto the site when it was launched. It looks amazing. So my question to you is a simple one. So I'm looking after the creative tech sector, which is pretty broad. We're 400 odd members across a broad range of different areas. But I'd like to hear in kind of real terms and the ways that you really think that we can help to really maximize what is a fantastic resource. And if you can make it more tactical for me, that would be fantastic. So that way I can really leverage people and really prod people in the right way so they can get the maximum use out of it.
Okay, you said that was going to be an easy question, Mark.
I think there are some easy wins. So the first ask of everyone who's hearing this is, please help us spread the word. It's a brand new resource, and yeah, Russ mentioned we'd had some great publicity, which is fantastic, but that's not enough. The story doesn't end here. So the first thing is help us spread the word. And the second thing I would ask of everyone is to be engaged. If you see something that fits, if you're part of something that fits with our goals, get in touch, let us know, contribute a blog about your experiences, share with us the details of that fantastic EdTech provider who's helped your kid stay sane through lockdown. Tell us about your favorite learning app that you're using and not even thinking about because it's so great, it's just in the heart of what you're doing on a daily basis. Share that with us and help us grow the site and grow the community.
Yeah, it's the start of a conversation. So we want to be able to give stakeholders up-to-date information about everything they need to be, everything that's out there that will help them in their education, whatever that looks like. And we have very much centered this around a STEAM approach rather than a STEM approach as well, to include the creative industries. So Mark, it would be great to maybe set up a meeting, chat with you, and just work out where we can collaborate and make the most for both parties.
And maybe if I can jump in here, building on the very good question from you, Mark, and just thinking about the creative industries, which I know the TLA Creative Tech Group covers a good chunk of that. I'm an advisor on the advisory council to the Creative Industries Federation, and that sector at the moment is going through a really, really tough time. Good news that the government is putting a lot more money back into the sector to help get it back on its feet. But many of the people who work in the sector, as you know, are freelancers. They're individual operators, and I do sense that many of them would benefit from a lot of the courses and a lot of the skills that are being made available through this. So we should put our heads together about how do we promote this to creative tech and creative industries channels. And I'll take an action. I will write to Caroline Norbury, who's the Chief Executive of Creative Industries Federation, and say, here you go. Here's a platform to help the creative industries become more familiar with digital skills, to understand why digital skills are so critical. We're showcasing initiatives like Digital Boost that Sherry Kutu's launched for small businesses and charities. I think the creative industries would benefit enormously from a lot of the resources that are available on this website. So I'll take an action to do that, but maybe that's something that you and I can pick up offline in terms of how do we help the creative industry sector become more digitalized.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Great. So sorry, did somebody want to jump in or?
No, I just said awesome.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So Skip, I'd like you to ask the next question, and then Jennifer, I'm going to come back to you on cyber in just a moment. So Skip, do you want to ask your question? Hi, Skip.
Hi, Skip.
You're on mute. Waiting for Skip to come off mute. I'm gonna, don't worry, Skip. I will, oh, there you go. You're off mute. Go on. Skip, do you want to say something? Oh, my microphone is not working. Fine. Okay. I'm going to read Skip's question. We are a small employer not looking for government subsidies. How can we identify talent with certain skills on the TLA education site without having to go to the government sites?
Well,
Tell us.
it just so happens that we're looking at developing, or we started with doing the feasibility now and the initial discussions with Reed, the big recruitment firm, the GLA Lean Network, Careers Advisors Network, and potentially London First, to develop a virtual careers fair. And that virtual careers fair will be very much to do, this is looking to do it in November, and it'll be very much to support the identification of young people's skills, because clearly if they're going to see and speak to an employer or looking at their career pathways or whatever it might be, they haven't got the experience. So it's looking at helping them identify the key skills, essential skills that they have, that then they can go, they understand what employers, where their skills can take them in terms of job, vocation, career, academia. And the idea is to have, and we're working with Fledglink on this, is to create a skills identifier that matches employers and jobs, real life jobs with the skills and the young people that are out there. So the careers fair would be looking to help young people speak to employers, understanding the skills that they have and the skills that the employers are looking for. Great. So once we've got that as a virtual careers fair, we will also incorporate that onto the TLA education site as well. So then it will be able to help you identify talent with certain skills. But we'll go through the careers fair first.
Excellent, thank you. And they say, thanks, Joe. You might also consider collaborating with LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Jennifer, are you able to come in? I know you previously asked us a question about cyber, so do you want to jump in? And by the way, where are you? Are you in the UK? You're on the West Coast?
I'm not sure I should answer that at this point.
All right, keep this in suspense then, but fire away with
but it is, it is great to see your voice, and so wonderful to hear your, hear your voice as well as everyone else on the call. So thank you for making time for my question. I wanted to know kind of, what has been discussed as far as addressing cyber skills, because as you can imagine, there's a few things happening within the industry, not just a shortage of digital skills, but as more and more kids have access, to online learning, they're going to be dabbling in other things. And then we talk about cyberbullying and potential predators, and just kind of understanding now what life is like through this virtual learning. I can also see it escalating, especially as, as we were saying earlier, there's more parents homeschooling. So you have kids, with this kind of never-ending access to the internet. And so what might this portal have? What are the ages, I guess, does the portal address? And then what would it have for cyber skills? Both in terms of scaling people into industry as well as just educating security at large.
Good question. Who wants to take that on?
Hi, Jen. Great to hear you. Hope everything's going well. Yes. So short answer. First stage of development. Haven't really got to cyber yet, but
okay,
is a major priority. For all the reasons you've just said, and for all of the safeguarding reasons that educators and young people and parents are worried about, especially in the use of Edtech and everything else, and they're so used to social media. So it is a priority. We are going to include it. Again, it'd be great to talk to you about how and what we could include within that arena.
Okay.
Because we are looking at all ages. So we're going from primary to, you know, to older grey-haired workers.
Sure.
I mean, Jen runs the there's a lot, you know, Jen, as you know, runs Hacker House, and I know that, Jen, you've got regular courses through Hacker House all the time. Is that something that could be added into the portal in terms of if you want to get some type of skills in cyber? Is that someplace where you could add that?
Yeah, well, there's a few things. We even though I wasn't an education company, when I went, we built a education portal for cybersecurity. So I have a complete online course. I also do a free module. So just hacking a web server, a mail server, just basics. And, you know, I guess we traditionally target, you know, older 18 and up, you know, those looking, graduating and then going on into industry. But however, since this pandemic, we've had like parents buy the course on behalf of their 16 and 17-year-old child who just don't get, you know, they're bored in school, or they're struggling with virtual learning and want to do this kind of trade, if you will, because it is in such a, you know, hot demand. So, you know, now we're looking at like, well, what could I offer? And yeah, I mean, we could offer like login credentials for people to take our course virtually. Maybe they just do like a module of the course. Maybe we offer our code of, you know, conduct and league, you know, just maybe I just didn't know who we were targeting. But I think beyond just, you know, training people into industry, I have a real strong concern about all that data, you know, our kids are getting access to, you know, as they do their learning online. So then there's that second part of cybersecurity, which is what are we doing to educate them about, you know, just how much they're sharing, two-factor authentication, you know, data tracking apps, you know, that are used a lot by younger kids. So I think that might be another element that we can also talk about. Although Hacker House does target, you know, placing people into industry, and we work with those directly who want, you know, who have skills, you know, past our course and now looking, we have like a pool of, you know, recruiters that kind of work with them to put them in. So that's why I was interested in this portal, because we do a lot of that already.
Okay, so Joe, would you follow up with Jennifer on this and see, you know, it'd be great, because I think this is a, you know, really, really important point for the portal going forward.
And I feel a bit ashamed that it wasn't in our stage one, to be honest.
Look, you've had a lot in your stage one to deal with, so.
Yeah.
One thing,
more power to you for getting this done. You know, everything at once. You can, you know, stages are important.
Yeah,
especially
one thing, just to kind of to add in, the majority of the training providers that we work with and the schools that we're showcasing, they're all Ofsted inspected, and certainly for digital apprenticeships, it's highly regulated again around safeguarding and safeguarding online. So we do have a sense of legitimacy of who we're showcasing and who we're working with, certainly in those core areas.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jules.
I think, Jen, just to finish, it'd be great to pick up with you after this, because I think there's a few different areas that we can, and do a few different ways that we can present and represent what you do, and also push people out towards your courses and your advice as well.
Okay,
perfect.
Thanks, and thanks, Jennifer. Zoltan, you put a question in the in the chat. Do you want to ask your question? And then I'm going to start to move towards a wrap up with one more question. Go for it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I'm just interested, which CMS do you use for your platform?
It's the WordPress
website. Oh, WordPress. Okay.
one, yeah. Which is just, it's very simple, and it's great for people like me who aren't technical, who can actually can use simply the back end, so we can keep it up to date.
Okay,
really.
and did you use a template, or you built it? It was a custom design.
It was a custom. It was bespoke.
Okay.
I worked with an amazing woman, Victoria Bennett, in Dublin. She's actually used to be for 10 years management and IT consultant for Accenture, but she retrained and is now a graphic designer.
Okay.
And really, really good one. So it was amazing to work with her because she knew what we were trying to achieve straight away and was able to just then help build it in such a way that it could scale, but it could also support all of our different navigation and news journeys as well.
Because I really like the site. It's really clean and straight to the point. So great job. Thank you.
Yes, well done. Okay, a couple of quick things. So Mark Ortmans has put a comment in the chat about the Global Entrepreneurship Network. There's Gen UK. We built the Gen UK Hub, a community platform for entrepreneurial ecosystem. Would love to discuss ways in which we can collaborate cross-platform. So Joe, Jules, Ade, I'm going to leave it with you to follow up with Mark. Mark, your opportunities to promote during Global Entrepreneurship Week, why don't you drop me a note about that, and I'll make sure that we think about how we promote that through the London Advocates website. So let's do that. And then one last question before I thank our speakers. So we've alluded to going global, but so Lanny Medina, who is in California, who runs Tech Bay Area Advocates, has sent us this question. Is your model scalable to other global tech advocates hubs? Which, for the benefit of everybody, there are 16 current ones. Skip's on the line, who co-leads Tech Japan Advocates. Can these guys adopt what you're doing? And if so, how?
No, it's all ours.
Okay, next
Pretty
question.
serious collaboration there, Joe.
Sharing. Yeah, of course. I think it would be easily replicable, wouldn't it? I'm not sure I personally want to take on the job of replicating it across the world, but it would be great as almost like a free franchise model.
Yeah, if I can jump in, because it can be replicated.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the web frames to do that. You know, we, for the TLA COVID-19 Resource Hub, we gave the web frames to Jeanette Carlson, who runs Tech Nordic Advocates. They've got the Tech Nordic Advocates COVID-19 Resource Hub, which looks and feels like what we started with TLA. So as long as you guys are open to that. But your point is a good one, which we should go back to Lanny and say, you know, they need to have the resources to input, add, all that kind of stuff. So I know that's no small undertaking.
How would you see it working in the first instance? Adding pages to this existing through, you know, as an.
Well, I think in the first instance, why don't we see how, you know, they can link into to your website and see what kind of traffic they get and if there's interest, and then from there I would suggest that we take it to the next level, unless they feel absolutely adamant that they want to build something similar right from day one. So there's a couple of ways I think in which we can do that, but we can take that offline. Okay. We're coming up to the hour. I'd like to see any final comments from Jules, Ade, Joe before we close this session about the Resource Hub. Any final thought you'd like to leave with all of the other attendees on this forum?
Yes, as we've alluded to, we have some asks for content, any content that we can get, so it keeps it fresh, but also helps you promote and supports what you guys are doing, and spread the word, please. Feedback as well, please, because it is stage one. So if there's any feedback or any things like the cyber element that we need to get on there pretty rapidly, and others, then if there's anything, any feedback, good or bad, that you've got on it, please do send in, or suggestions or anything like that. And lastly, most importantly, we're all volunteers, and this is whilst I can do a few of the updates sort of every weekend, I can't do it all, and we need the support of Victoria in Dublin, and equally for stage 2 developments, which will be building other pages and what have you. We need a bit of sponsorship support. Now we've got advert opportunities on the site, very cheap, because all we want to do is be able to pay Victoria for the updates. We're not making any money. So they're very, very cheap, between £500 and £2,000 for the overarching, for a set period of time. Really, you know, it's hopefully not much to ask, but any opportunities that you find for talking to people who may want a bit more exposure across the education sector, then please do put them in touch as well. If they've, you know, even if it's 500 quid advert, that will help us a lot.
It all helps. That's right.
Yeah.
Jules, any final thoughts from you?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who's helped us get this far, in particular to our fearless leader, Joe, who has worked so hard to make this happen. Yeah, the discussions, the vision has been evolving for a long time, but I think what has been produced has exceeded many of our expectations, and it is a fantastic starting point. So very well done to the team and to our membership who contributed thus far. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, brilliant. It took a team effort to get it this far though, Jules, didn't it? So yes.
Ade, any final thoughts from you? You're on mute.
I'm good, thanks. It's been a marvelous journey so far.
Great, thank you. Well, look, congratulations to the three of you and to Victoria. You know, it is a fabulous resource for the community, for the nation. And the reactions I've been getting when I put out the newsletter 2 weeks ago, my inbox filled up straight away with all kinds of wonderful feedback about this. So you should all feel very proud. I know you've worked incredibly hard. Yeah, as the three of you know, I've said this to the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sports, where we launched the Digital Skills Partnership 3 years ago, that is the organization that should have launched this, and they never did. So I'm really proud that Tech London Advocates and the TLA Education Group is the organization that has, in the words of Further Education News, the most comprehensive online portal for digital skills in the UK. Hooray, well done. So with that, thank you to you guys. We're going to put this recording on the YouTube channel fairly soon. So it'll be available for everybody to review. Just as a reminder, in parallel to this wonderful platform, we have the TLA COVID-19 Resource Hub. We're just adding more and more content to that. We've seen a 5-fold increase in web traffic to the site since we launched it on the 27th of March. So the great news is people are using and accessing the content that is out there. So with that, everyone, thank you for being part of this forum, and stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next forum. Take care. Bye.